how to feel your quads more when squatting and ultimately build size and strength. So to feel the quads more, it's important that you create the correct shape when lowering down into your squat. So here we have two different squats and two different shapes. You can see one is more visibly hip dominant, it stops at 90 degrees, and that one's on the left. We can see the other is largely quad dominant, it's arse to grass, and that one's on the right. So here you can see to feel the quads more, it's important and imperative that we reduce the distance between the hamstrings and the calves. But how do we do that? So a squat that is going to be hip dominant, we will likely start with bum back and it will have little to no knee flexion. So the knee won't bend at all. It'll just be the bum that will be traveling backwards and down like this, creating a 90-degree angle. This is awfully common, and although it's not a bad squat, it's just not the squat that's going to be advantageous or the one you're after when it comes to working and feeling the quads a lot more. So it's in a hip dominant squat that you would normally come to the conclusion that you're lacking mobility, or maybe you need to work on it, because you're feeling like you're getting to a position where you're just stopping, you're jamming, you're pinching up, and you're like, I want to get lower, but I simply can't. It must be a result of my mobility, something that I lack, when in fact it's just how you're initiating that squat that's really stopping you from getting any lower. So to create the squat that will load the quads effectively, it will be one that involves a little bit more knee flexion, or at least starting the squat with knee flexion. So knees bending forward and then squatting down. Knee flexion basically allows you to drop vertically straight down into your squat rather than backwards and then down. Holding a pole can be great support when learning and getting comfortable with this shape, because again, it's not that you don't have the strength for it or the mobility or something. It's just that you haven't necessarily done this squat. Once we find something that's like a rut in sand, the water will always travel down that little rut in the sand. So we just need to make a new pattern and get used to it. And holding onto a pole is great support for us to drill those reps and get it into our head, and also comfortable with making that before we chuck a barbell on our back. Now that you understand the shape that's needed, it's important that we chuck the barbell on the back, because that's where we're going to be able to load these tissues up. So when squatting with a bar on your back, where you place it also influences that shape that you're creating to feel the quads more. So here I'm doing a high bar squat. The bar is placed up on the traps towards the base of my neck. To hold the bar, or to be able to balance the bar, I just need to stand nice and straight. If I lean forward, it's going to roll towards my neck more. It's going to put a lot of pressure there. If I lean back, then the bar's just going to slip off my back. So it's advantageous that I stand nice and tall. And the pros to this as well is that when my knees go forward, I'm just going to drop vertically down with that weight, basically right over my base of support. So it's just quads loading up the entire time when I drop down. The other way that we can hold a bar is with a low bar squat. It would be somewhat down the middle of my back. If I was to stand nice and tall, what would happen is the bar would begin to fall off my back and I wouldn't be able to hold it. So we have to lean forward first a little bit and create a hinging shape to help support that bar. So if we're trying to hit our quads more, it's important that we also create a shape and hold the bar in a certain way that's going to be advantageous for us to create that shape initially. So low bar has its benefits, but for quads and the development of it, as well as getting as low as we possibly can, high bar is going to be your best friend. So to drive home the process of this, we need to bend the knees more. We need to initiate the squat with a little bit of knee flexion, not a whole lot where we're putting a little bit too much pressure on the knees, just a little bit. So that way we can't stick our bum all the way back. So knees forward, and just keep trying to let those knees go forward the lower we get down, and you'll notice that your squat will get remarkably lower and you'll be able to feel those quads a lot more. So in saying that, don't be surprised if you can't necessarily do the same weight that you were squatting say a week or 2 weeks ago, because the quads now, because we're loading them up more specifically, they will be a little bit weaker. So create the shape, get comfortable with it, and then slowly over time add more and more weight back onto the bar once you're creating a really nice shape that's targeting those quads. And trust me, if you're hitting the quads and creating a correct shape to hit those quads, you will absolutely feel it the next day. So happy squatting. Hopefully that helps.